Death is an undeniable fact that's chasing us all, but sometimes in media, you'll see a death and hope that doesn't happen to you.
Joel, please get up!
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, we'll be looking at the scariest video game deaths. Before we fully jump in, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, it's good to see you again. Heads up, Bam Bam the Clown rolled in to help me out with this video.
You are my sunshine.
He has no say in these edits or what goes in this video, and the first time he's gonna see it is when it gets uploaded. So,
if I was a bad, I wanna me too.
Alright, let's get into our picks for the scariest video game deaths. Dead Space 2. Baby go boom boom. What a perfect way to introduce an enemy. Dead Space 2 is a third-person survival horror game, released in 2011. It follows Isaac Clarke, a former engineer and ship specialist, who had run into an alien outbreak in his first venture that was released in 2008, only to survive that game's events and then be put into a new alien outbreak. In Dead Space 2, Isaac is on the Sprawl, a civilian space station built on what's left of Saturn's moon, and that space station slowly gets infected by necromorphs. And you, as Isaac watches, the panic sets over the space station, as well as the infection's quick spread. And these necromorphs are where the true horror lies, in Dead Space. They are reanimated corpses and other tissue formed into new beings that attack any living organism. And the necromorph's goal is to gather as many corpses as possible to spread their infection, as well as their end goal of reaching a convergence event. This event is where it gathers so much flesh and corpses that it eventually transforms into a sentient moon. A moon full of flesh, tissue, and dead people. And sentient is underselling it, as these brethren moons are smart as hell, and their main goal
is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody.
Is to take over and consume the entire universe. It's a lot like the Flood from Halo, but much more horror-oriented. And you, good old Isaac, is destined to stop that. But nothing stops the horrifying deaths in the series, and there's quite a bit of them.
Kobe!
It's just, for me, the baby scene really stuck out to me. Obviously, it's pretty shocking how the baby goes kablamo, but Dead Space 2 had a thing for reincarnated baby corpses. This just means that someone had the ability to pick up one of these babies without it exploding and threw it in a washing machine. And hey, new parents, don't do that. Unless it is an alien, but if it's an alien and you think your baby's an alien, you're probably going through psychosis. Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. But specifically with Titan Elementary, where this daycare is held at, Isaac stumbles upon all of these babies and infants that got turned into necromorphs. And unfortunately for this lady, her motherly instincts led her to her death, just giving a haunting aura to her death. And on top of that, the alien, that's, mind you, just a flesh corpse thing, had the brain capacity of pretty much going like, oh yeah? Here's a hug. And then the baby went like this, and it's just a bomb.
They're bombs. Oh.
If you have a different scary death from the Dead Space series, I'd love to hear it down below.
Icarus, God of War 2. God of War 2 was a direct sequel to the critically acclaimed God of War released in 2007 for PlayStation 2. If you don't know what God of War is, it's essentially a story about killing an entire pantheon until there's nothing left, and then in the reboot, you go to a whole different pantheon. So you're telling me that Kratos just kills essentially the entire Greek pantheon, so he just up and moves to the Nordic pantheon years later?
Yes.
Anyways, our god-killing and family-killing protagonist Kratos.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your brother that passed away. He gets 5 big booms. Boom! Boom!
Is trying to get to the Sisters of Fate. He needs to cross the Great Chasm, but he's confronted by Icarus. We all know the story about Icarus, how he flew too close to the sun and fell into the underworld. Icarus spent years in the underworld. He ended up building new wings to escape. Now wanting to see the Sisters of Fate himself to change his own destiny, Icarus shoos off the ghost of Sparta from seeking an audience with the sisters. Trying to stop Kratos from seeing them, he hops on his back and they both fall into the Great Chasm. While they fall into the Great Chasm, it revolts into an all-out brawl. In the end, Kratos literally rips Icarus' new wings off and leaves him to fall back into the underworld. You can hear a gut-wrenching scream as the clouds make an opening for Icarus to fall back into the underworld. Kratos, on the other hand, leaves unscathed. He even takes Icarus' wings for himself to glide down to safety, which then becomes a permanent item for Kratos to use later in the game. This always made me very uneasy, especially because of the scream Icarus lets out. Think about it though. This guy was already in the underworld, went insane from the years of torment, built new wings to escape just for some Spartan to kick him back into it again.
Corpse Gate, Call of Duty, World War II. Call of Duty is an immensely popular first-person shooter that follows some sort of military-themed campaign, multiplayer, sometimes zombies, and sometimes battle royale, which is so cool.
Time to stop it.
And I'm sure you know of COD, a great game that every single year focuses on creating something new and original and fun for the player to spend $60, $70, and $80 to. And it's a lot like sports games that get released every single year. And you might think, how can a company force developers to make a really fun and exciting game every single year and have it be a hit every single year? Well, Call of Duty just does it. And on top of that, Call of Duty really knows its identity. It's such a good game series. And if you can't see my sarcasm, then holy shit. Look harder. It's undeniable what some of the Call of Duties did in gaming, but it's also undeniable that the games recently are just dog doo-doo.
Maybe we can poke this out. Maybe we can poke this out.
What the f***? This piece of shit.
And maybe it's just me growing up, but at the same time, I really did like Call of Duty. I was a big fan of quick scoping and sniping because I had friends and I was an outside child. I think the last Call of Duty that I played was Cold War, and I didn't even pay for that. One of my friends was like, it's really, really fun. You have to play it with me. So he bought me the game, and then we played it for like a week, and we never touched that game again. Anywho, in one of the thousands of Call of Duties, we're focused on World War II, specifically the one that was released in 2017. In 2017's World War II, there's a sadistic and Saw-like death that comes from a zombies map, the Darkest Shore. Throughout that map, you, the player, because that's how video games work, come across gates that need to be opened in a very Jigsaw-like way, but much more sadistic, I'd say. But it's not Slim Shady who's behind the traps.
My name is Eminem. Your girl wanted Eminem, so I gave her an Eminem.
No, it's Dr. Straub. And he is behind this very fun contraption that you can take to birthday parties. And just like any way to progress in Call of Duty Zombies, it's very, very simple and easy to do. You need a headless body, a non-reanimated head, and once you get those things, you gotta put it onto this door. And then, on top of that, there's 2 batteries on each side of the door, and then you have to kill zombies and get their souls to go into those batteries. And once those batteries are charged, you go up to the head and the corpse that you found, that you tied together, you press a button, it brings back to life the Frankenstein creation you've made, which is a Nazi, so don't feel bad for him. But he gets brought back to life, only to get torn apart, and then his body gets grinded up and his head gets put on a little pedestal. Very simple. Besides the convolution that Call of Duty Zombies gives off, this death is rough to watch because it takes a minute for him to fully get torn apart. Granted, he is a son of a bitch, so
I'd make that deal.
But just the idea of you're already dead, you get brought back to life, just to get torn apart. I guess definitely deserves that and all, but hot dog. And speaking of hot dogs, whenever someone gets torn apart hot dog style, cringe-inducing.
Hot dog, hot diggity dog.
Let him be. The great journey waits for no one, brother.
Captain Keyes, Halo Combat Evolved. Before I go into this, I just want to say that this has spoilers for Halo Combat Evolved, a nearly 25-year-old game. So if you don't want spoilers, just skip this part. Halo Combat Evolved is a first-person shooter released by Bungie in 2001 as a launch title for the original Xbox. It's highly regarded as one of, if not the most influential console shooter of all time. It set a template for how console shooters should be after the absolute shit show that was, well, everything before it. Listen, I love GoldenEye as much as the next person, but that game should not have come out on the N64. The game revolves around the UNSC, and more specifically, Master Chief, a genetically modified human that was made into a super soldier against his own will, and the Covenant, which are a religious order made up of different alien species. The game starts with the Pillar of Autumn, a ship led by Captain Jacob Keyes, being boarded by the Covenant. Both parties involved end up discovering a halo ring, ancient formations made by the Forerunners, a superior species that has long since vanished. The war against the Covenant ends up going onto the ring when the Pillar of Autumn crashes into it. Midway into the campaign, both sides of the war come to a horrifying discovery: the Flood. The Flood is a parasitic organism that can wipe out an entire galaxy if left unchecked. The infection forms can infect a host, dead or alive, and contort their bones and body mass to become whatever the hive mind needs. They come in combat forms, carrier forms, much more. You find out later in the game that the Halo Ring was actually built as a weapon. See, the only way to kill the Flood is to starve it. The ring is designed to kill every living being within the galaxy so that the Flood doesn't have food. Things get out of hand after a while, and Captain Keyes goes MIA after the initial outbreak. Master Chief finds out he's being held inside a run-down Covenant ship. He goes to try and extract the captain from the ship, but it's too late. Chief finds him assimilated into a proto-gravemind. Remember how I mentioned that there was a hive mind? The Flood gets biomass, tons of it, to create a central intelligence that taps into the rest of the hive mind. Part of that biomass, unfortunately, was Captain Keyes. In the anniversary remaster of Combat Evolved, there's actually a new cutscene that adds a lot more context to Keyes' death. The Flood can tap into the host's mind and memories, and in this cutscene you see that Keyes was trying extremely hard not to let the Flood know crucial information, like Earth. For the entire 3.5-minute cutscene, Keyes is seen resisting the Flood, tapping into his memories until the very end where he is fully consumed by it. This extra cutscene makes the entire thing much more scary and unsettling. The Flood can literally read your mind and use it against you to torment you. We never see Keyes' death, but it's safe to assume his fate was far worse than anyone could imagine.
You will not have me! We already do.
Deviant Feuderman, The Outlast Trials. The Deviant of Dr. A. Feuderman from The Outlast Trials has one of the most excruciating deaths in the whole series, and that's saying a lot. And on top of that, you partake in his death. You, in fact, do all of it. You murder this dude. And he's definitely not someone to feel sympathy for. But at the same time, if you're a dude, you ever watch someone get hit in the balls and you're like, ooh, that kind of makes me not feel great?
Successful.
Oh boy!
The Outlast Trials is a first-person survival horror game, and it's part of the Outlast franchise, if you couldn't piece that together. It follows either your character or you and up to 2 other buddies, as this is a co-op game, and you're known as reagents. And you have to endure and outlast. Eh?
Say that again?
Every day we stray further from God.
Sadistic experiments run by the Murkoff Corporation. And within that corporation holds so many memorable and horrifying characters.
Daddy! What are you doing?
All out on a mission to kill you and your friends. And you have to avoid them while also completing tasks to pursue further into the game. And within the game, there are so many brutal deaths. So many other choices that you can definitely pick from. And if you have a differing one, I'd love to hear it down below.
Make it stop! Coil!
But what I'm going to focus on is the Deviant of Dr. Feuderman. He is forced through a production line that his body, or sorry YouTube, it cuts up his body really bad, gouges out his eyes, covers him in hot wax a couple of times, and inserts metallic parts into his part, eventually completely dismembering his manhood. Only for the final nail in the coffin, yeah, he's still alive after all of this, is to be burnt to a crisp, and you literally push the buttons for everything. You incinerate this dude. It's roughly 5 minutes of sadistic mechanical torture leading to someone's death, and you have full control over it, but the thing is you can't progress in the game without killing him. So, you know, free will and all. It's excruciating. He deserved it, but it was rough to watch. And I know for the men, it might be hard to get the sense that this is not fun down there because it's all pixelated. But do you remember in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom when they gave those little monkey brains to eat? Imagine the monkey brain, but down there. On the bright side, he can finger blast himself now, which I guess he could have always done. There are many terrifying deaths in the Outlast series, so if I missed one of your favorites, then let me know down below.
I'm about to bust. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good Lord.
As you can see, we have dealt with the betrayer, Lucien Lachance. No longer will you serve as his puppet.
Lucien Lachance, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion is the 4th installment in the Elder Scrolls, a fantasy role-playing series that dates back all the way to 1994. The Elder Scrolls is known for its open world, technical leaps, and rich stories and quests, and Oblivion is no exception. One of the most well-known questlines in the game is the Dark Brotherhood. Dark Brotherhood is a group of assassins that complete contracts for anyone that does the Black Sacrament, a ritual that summons a Dark Brotherhood for a request to kill someone. They're essentially fantasy hitmen. To be initiated into the Dark Brotherhood, you must kill someone innocent. When doing this for the first time, you'll get a message on the corner of your screen. Your killing has been observed by forces unknown. Nothing really happens after this, until you go to sleep.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good.
In the middle of your slumber, you're awoken by Lucien Lachance, who gives you a test to initiate you into the Dark Brotherhood. After completing his test and joining the ranks of the Dark Brotherhood, you actually don't hear from him that much until later in the questline when you eventually get promoted. You start receiving dead drops directly from Lucien to kill certain targets. You're working directly for him at this point. It's later revealed, after a certain point, the dead drops were actually swapped out with forged ones so that you would be systematically killing the rest of the Dark Brotherhood instead of the actual targets that needed to be killed. Lucien confronts you about this, but then realizes you both have been duped. The rest of the Dark Brotherhood is after Lucien as a result because they don't know that he isn't the traitor. He wants you to find proof that will clear his name. You later find someone that swapping out the dead drops with fake ones, but they don't know anything. They just get paid by someone that lives in the lighthouse in the city of Anvil. Going to the lighthouse, you find their journal and find out that Lucien killed that person's mother as part of a contract, and now he's trying to get revenge on the entire Brotherhood. They are so set on revenge that they actually join the Dark Brotherhood to destroy it from the inside. With this new information, you go to the place that Lucien asked you to meet him, but as you walk in, you find out it's already too late. The remaining members of the Black Hand, which is essentially the ruling body within the Dark Brotherhood, killed Lucien, thinking he was a traitor. You walk in only to see his mutilated and torn apart corpse.
As you can see, we have dealt with the betrayer, Lucien Lachance.
This always hit a bit harder for me because Lucien was your mentor, and you worked very closely with him. One can only imagine the pain he endured.
An honorable mention is Joel's death animation from a bloater. It's brutal and painful, and personally, whenever I see a jaw death like getting ripped apart, that freaks me out a little bit. However, the reason it's an honorable mention is because it cuts out really quickly. We do see a little bit of the death, but it doesn't show the full extent. Meanwhile, with my other pick like Dr. Funerman, that was like 5 minutes worth of watching someone die. So I feel like the animation deaths where it sets up something horrifying and then cuts right before it shows it, I don't know if that exactly counts. Not saying I'd like to die like this. I'd rather die from a heart attack while having sex. Traumatic to the lady, but it'd be really neat. Breathe! And those were some of our picks for the most horrific video game deaths out there. Obviously, there's so many other options we can pick from, and if there's one of your favorites that we missed, I'd love to hear it down below. This is an opinion-oriented video, so if you think any of this is fact, well, obviously you're right, because what we say is fact and truth. Kill your family while they sleep. No, obviously all of these are subjective, so if you think this is a weenie-ass video, My bad. But if you got some sort of enjoyment from it, leaving a like really helps us out. I say us, but Bam Bam the Clown over here, he doesn't have any control. I just let him out of the doghouse every once in a while when I feel like he needs some sunlight. Also, he told me, he's like, I can't have too many inappropriate jokes in my video. I just don't want to have my face correlated with that. So you're lucky you're not getting a money shot. If you like my yapping so much, then think about subscribing before you head out. My channel is just horror-oriented stuff. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week. Don't put a baby in a washing machine.